Hi there. I couldn't resist in showing you an extreme version of the multiple bet submission technique I showed you earlier on this week. Here we have in racing an 18 runner race at Galway, in which once they start loading all the bets will start going in. Now there's going to be 10 bets per runner, so that's going to be a total of 100 bets, all done automatically via the strategy. And as you'll see once I show you the strategy itself, it's no different from the one I showed you the other day. And there you see all those bets going in, one after the other. It's configured to put the bets in, the initial bet, 10 ticks below the current market price, and then 5 ticks below each of the preceding bet. And so there we have them all in there, a whole load of them. So what it's doing is it's popping in a lay to back trade in each case with the liability of £100 on each lay to back trade. So we'll just let this set off, and whilst so given that it is a 2 mile and a 2.5 mile race, let me just switch to the strategy editor. And that's the strategy, exactly the same, so it's going to switch back and forth as the bets are taken. So I'll look at it once it's finished. The strategy is exactly the same as before. All I've done is convert those strategies into apply to all rules. So it still only requires the 2 rules set up, which then gets configured into individual rules for each runner, as you've seen many times. And there's some in here where it says unable to find the selection. That's simply because there's been some withdrawals. So what this particular strategy is doing, and I wouldn't necessarily advise that you follow this strategy in the real world. As I say, it's got 10 separate lay to back bets per runner. Each is a total liability of £100, so it's split up into £10 liabilities on each individual lay to back trade. And then it's looking for an offset of 30% of the true odds value. So that's where all these green rectangles are. Those are the offsets waiting to be matched when the corresponding bet is taken. So as I say, I've no idea how this will pan out, to be honest. I wouldn't imagine it being profitable in any way, shape or form, although again, on a race this length, there's plenty of opportunity for trading out. Now what I'll try and do, I don't know if it will happen all the time, let me just pull up the strategy editor again and I'll maximise it. No, it won't. I was hoping if I maximised it, it would stop switching back and forth as bets are taken, but it's not going to happen. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video and we'll jump to that once the race is finished. Okay, we're coming along to the end of the race now, and you can see we've been in the green actually most of the race. It's occasionally flashed into the red, but at the moment we're sitting at a very tidy profit of £50. I could trade out there just now, and that's the end of the race. So all those other bets are just sitting there. The odds didn't come far enough down for those to be taken. And given that that's the profit, I might try that again. Let's have a look at the strategy. So as I was saying, the strategy itself is exactly the same as before. I've made slight modifications since it's a horse race rather than a football match. But essentially it's still the 2 rules created. The first one is the one that puts in the initial seed bet at the entry level in which you wish to start your betting. And then the next one pops in all the subsequent bets at 5 tick intervals in this case. And essentially all I've done there is just convert each of those rules to apply to all rules and made the corresponding changes within each rule definition. So if we pull up the automation rule editor for the first rule, you'll see that for the action I've simply chosen my selection as being all, with the apply to all switched on. You're all familiar with that by now. and it's set as 10 ticks below whatever the near SP value is, just before the off. And it's looking for an offset of 10% of true for a £10 liability. And if we have a look at the second rule, again, it's essentially the same as the one before that you saw there in the other video. It's only slightly configured for racing. So again, doing an execution count of 9, apply to all switched on, so on the action tab, the selection options set to all. Similarly to the first rule, except we're only looking at 5 ticks below the previous bet. Again, still looking for 10% true. And it's also configured, I forgot to mention, with a repeat on success set to 2. So in other words, these bets are going to be submitted ultimately 3 times if each corresponding bet is taken. And then the conditions, same thing, same condition as before, except that selection is set to all. And that's it. And just with those 2 simple rules, there's 180 bets going in. So that just demonstrates the power of that technique in terms of putting loads and loads of bets in a structured manner, very quickly, without you actually having to spend much effort at all. And given the result on that one, I think it's worthwhile doing this on the next race, so stand by for that. Right, coming up for the off time when the bets will start going in at this race at Galway. As you can see, it's a 20 runner race this time. I've switched to grid mode just to let you see all the runners and how the bets are behaving.
10 seconds remaining.
As I said earlier, it's a simple 2 rule strategy using apply to all as a mechanism for putting in all the bets, and in they go there just now. So that's the race off and running. So let's just sit and watch this one. Again, it's a 2 mile plus race, so this is going to take a good 4 minutes or so. But let's see if it is as successful as the last one. Now, although we've been putting in loads of bets, so in this race there's 200 bets in there, 200 trades, which get repeated 3 times. Not all of them are going to get matched. Not all runners will drop far enough to have them matched. Some runners will have none matched at all. Others may just have 1 or 2 at the top end matched. It's really only the ultimate winner who's guaranteed to get every single one of the 10 matched. Now, whether it manages to get matched and then the repeat on success gets matched as well, totally depends on how the race pans out. So as you can see, there's not many things happening at the moment. We've got C music that's sitting in the red at the moment, and all the other ones, some have been taken, some haven't. But with 3 minutes to go, you'll see the green up button there. It hasn't deviated that far away from a scratch. The last race was interesting in that it was in the green all the time, although we didn't watch the whole race. It was in the green more or less all the time until towards the tail end of the race, where it dipped into the red for a little bit before coming back again. So it'll be interesting to see if this one does the same sort of thing and produces the same sort of result. And that's us slowly creeping into the green now, so that's good. Let's hope that continues. But as you can see on the right hand side, there's still loads of bets there sitting there waiting to be taken. But hopefully you've seen just from these 2 examples how powerful it is, that bet submission technique, to submit loads and loads of bets throughout your market for very little effort. It certainly beats doing it manually, and that's for sure. The important thing is that you just need to think about what it is that you're trying to achieve and how you want to go about doing it. But as you've seen from the previous video as well as this one. Implementing that using a strategy is actually very straightforward and extremely powerful. So we're still plodding along, just barely in the green, sort of £4 or £5, and hopefully that will pick up a little bit as we get towards the end. Keep in mind that although the way the thing is structured, although there's 200 bets in this particular case, each of those bets is structured to be a £10 liability, so a total of £100 liability per runner. But those liabilities cancel each other out, so the maximum liability you'll have for the race at any one time is going to be £100. It can't get any bigger than that. From that point of view, it's very much like the scalping, in-running scalping technique. Okay, so we're drawing to the close. Nothing so dramatic as we had in the last race. We'll see which ones are taken now. But even if it finishes at this, you know, £8, £7, that's well worth doing since it doesn't take any effort. And it may well be that the previous race was a bit of a fluke. So we've got two further down the field have come in quite suddenly. Hopefully they'll get matched out again, traded out. And there's one even further down, Costanucci. So this race isn't finished yet. And it looks like we're going to end up with a loser in this particular instance. Okay, so we've finished up with talking apart winning the race and losing £49, so it cancels out the profit from the previous race. As I said right at the very beginning of this video, I have major doubts as to whether this strategy would be successful long term. I really set it up just to demonstrate how powerful the bet submission process was if you followed what I did the other day and converted those into apply to all rules. Okay guys, I hope you found that interesting. Speak to you later.